Mastercard in the end is a global technology company. We run a global network. We're very much a data company, right? So in all of this, when we handle people's money, when we handle people's data, trust is the most important thing. You lose that, we lose our business. So for us, that trust factor is very critical for our business, and it's embedded in everything we do. So again, as the world evolves, previously we were handling payments in the physical world. Then it's e-commerce, the digital world.
Yes.
Tomorrow with AI, it's going to be agentic, right? Agents
will be doing commerce for us.
Yes, but the commonality in all of this is still safety and security, right? And trust. And also ease of use, convenience as well. I think today's consumer doesn't want to make a trade-off between ease and security. They want both. So when we think about our solutions and our services, that's part of the design thinking. We have to make sure it's easy, it's convenient, but it's also safe and secure, and it is trusted by everybody.
Welcome to Analyse Asia, the premier podcast dedicated to dissecting the pulse of business, technology, and media in Asia. I am Bernard Leong. With stablecoins now signed into law in the United States, the impact of digital currencies and the transformation of payment infrastructure globally is accelerating. What are the implications for stablecoins in the emerging market from the perspective of a payments network such as Mastercard? With me today is Ling Hai, President of the Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa at Mastercard. Ling Hai, welcome to the show, and thank you for hosting me here in Mastercard Singapore.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I always like to find out about the origin story of my guests on my show. So how did your career journey begin and what led you to Mastercard?
Well, first of all, I grew up in Shanghai and went to the US when I was a teenager, immigrated to the US. Of course, so got schooled and educated in the US. My first job, my first career started actually in management consulting. So did that for almost 6 years. Then I went into banking, but more on the retail side. So I did a lot of credit cards, worked for MBNA, Bank of America, HSBC. So many times Mastercard was actually my customer.
That's right.
Or partner, sitting on the other side of the table. And I think there were times when I said to myself, there are things that I could do better if I was with Mastercard. And lo and behold, one day I was headhunted. And when I heard it was actually Mastercard, I quickly said to myself, sign me up. Love to join Mastercard and do things maybe a little bit differently.
So you led Mastercard across multiple continents. What are the key lessons from navigating such diverse regions?
I think one great thing about Mastercard is we are a global company, but we serve in more than 200 markets. So I think one commonality is the key ingredient to our success is what I call glocal. You have to be globally consistent as a business model, but in every market, we have to figure out a way to localize to meet the local needs. So it is about finding that balance and bridge the need for the local markets and bridge that with our global model. That's when we're successful. Otherwise, it is just going to be a global brand that doesn't resonate.
So I think before we get to the main subject of the day, reflecting on your career experience, what are the lessons from your career journey that you can share with my audience?
There's so many of them. I think one of the key things is in every local market, I think the key success factor for Mastercard is we're able to use local talents. People who are global, but they're also local in the first instance. That's actually really, really important. I think the second thing that's really important is our leadership's ability to empower the local teams. Things happen on the ground, right? We can be there every day, every minute of the day. And I think to have a strong local team that can win the hearts and minds of our customers is really a very important factor in our success. So, which then brings me to my last point. I think, as a leader of the company, one of my key learning is that leadership is a real privilege, actually. I don't take it for granted. I believe that people follow all of us leaders, not because of the titles we have, but truly because they feel there's something they can learn from us. There are insights they can, gauge from us. And that is the reason they follow us, right? So for me, every day it's still a learning opportunity. You just spoke about stablecoins, and I guess we'll discuss those more.
About that.
And to me, the market is changing. New things are constantly emerging. So how for the whole company, as a team, we constantly learn and develop ourselves. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, so that's the concept of servant leadership and always be open to new things. And which gets to the main subject of the day. I want to talk about the future of digital payments and stablecoins. To begin, I have 2 Mastercards on my inside my wallet.
Yeah.
And every day I use Mastercard for a lot of my payment transactions. But of course, I would love you to give me a high-level overview of Mastercard's vision and mission and how it's evolving in the digital age.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let me do this. One is I don't want to screw this up, so I actually want to just tell you what is the stated vision for Mastercard. Right? We talk about how we connect and empower an inclusive digital economy that benefits everyone, everywhere. And if you look at our mission statement, it's about providing technology and services to make transactions safe, simple, smart, and accessible. So what does that tell you? Mastercard, in the end, is a global technology company. We run a global network. We're very much a data company, right? So in all of this, when we handle people's money, when we handle people's data, trust is the most important thing. You lose that, we lose our business. So for us, that trust factor is very critical for our business, and it's embedded in everything we do. So again, as the world evolves, right? Previously we were handling payments in the physical world. Then it's e-commerce, the digital world.
Yes.
Tomorrow with AI, it's going to be agentic, right? Agents
will be doing commerce for us.
Yes, but the commonality in all of this is still safety and security, right?
And trust.
And trust. And also ease of use, convenience as well.
Yes.
I think today's consumer doesn't want to make a trade-off between ease and security. They want both. So when we think about our solutions and our services, that's part of the design thinking. We have to make sure it's easy, it's convenient, but it's also safe and secure, and it is trusted by everybody.
So Ling Hai, as the president of Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, or EPIMEA in short, how do you see your role in driving that vision across this kind of diverse and dynamic markets? I mean, it's very different. Europe is a very, very different set of markets compared to Asia Pacific and even to the Middle East and in Africa.
Yeah.
Because the needs are very different.
Correct. So, well, first of all, my role is there to foster collaboration. Oftentimes, I sometimes see teams trying to reinvent the wheel when something actually already exists in another market. But of course, it's difficult for the local team to understand what's happening around the world. That's my role, because I have that view of everything that's going around the world. And so letting people reach across the aisle and learn from each other and collaborate, that's actually a very important thing for our company's business model. I think the second thing that's very important is I myself sit in front of customers. When I say customers, we're talking about the banks and acquirers and merchants and governments as well. It's a very important part of my job, and I encourage all of our teammates to do the same thing. Because you think about it, we are a B2B model, right? Business to business model. We can't just create our solutions or products in the ivory tower. We need to talk to our customers to make sure they meet their needs and address their pain points. Oftentimes when I sit in front of customers, that's when my aha moments come, right? I'll be struggling with a solution, but talking to a company CEO, a bank CEO, all of a sudden I'm like, well, the answer is right there, right? So that's another thing I think that's really, really important in our business model.
So I think what will be the strategic priorities now that's unique to the region itself, including Asia Pacific, that you would be thinking about doubling down today?
Yeah, I wouldn't say unique, but maybe some of my regions are leading the way, especially like APAC. So for example, what's really important right now for us is open loop transit. And my world actually leads Mastercard in many markets. Singapore is a great example.
Yes.
It's completely open loop, right? You can use your card tap and go into an MRT station.
That's right.
Or riding a bus. The Netherlands. Now Singapore is one city state, so it's nationwide already. When Singapore, the city is open loop. So the whole country is open loop. But the Netherlands has many cities, Amsterdam and others. The Netherlands is a nationwide open loop. That's also with the collaboration with Mastercard. Australia is very advanced. UK in London is very advanced. We want to see this everywhere because we believe fundamentally for a payment instrument to be top of wallet, it's really important that people use it for everyday spend, everyday use cases. And transit is a great example of that everyday use case. But the other thing I think that makes transit really important is really tourism. The world is more connected. People like to go travel around the world and see different places.
Yeah.
And maybe with AI, people don't have to work as much. They'll have even more leisurely time to
think
travel
so.
around the world. And the transit oftentimes is the most intimidating thing when you go to a different country.
That's right.
Try to buy a subway ticket in Paris. It's very difficult, right? So to enable a consumer to use the everyday card to just tap and go into a transit system, that's really important for tourism. And I think governments around the world realize that as well.
I think a lot of us who use Mastercard, like myself, when I travel across, even within countries in Asia Pacific, the ease of use, just tapping my Mastercard credit card on that is, I think we don't appreciate that, but that interoperability just allows us to go through so many things. But can you just give us, say, a high-level overview now on the current state of payments across Asia Pacific, and what are the key trends you are very excited about?
Well, in Asia Pacific, I think one thing that's really, really interesting and exciting is it is really one of the most advanced regions. It's got everything. It's got card payments, it's got digital wallets, it's got account-to-account, real-time payment, right? It has NFC as a form factor. It's got QR as a form factor. Like I live in Singapore as well. You see merchants take all forms of payments. Right? It's multi-form factor as well. So it's really advanced. And that's not just Singapore or Australia. It is also true for China. It's true in India now. A lot of the Southeast, UPI. A lot of the Southeast Asian countries are also rapidly developing. But the other thing about Asia is with all the development, there's still a lot of cash opportunities. So cash still takes up a huge percentage of retail payments. You go to Japan, you can actually not survive without cash in your pocket, right?
Definitely.
Something around 40% of retail spend is still with cash. So for us, it's headroom to further digitize. So on the one hand, you have massive development, a lot of new technology, but on the other hand, you still have a lot of secular trend around cash conversion, digitization. That makes Asia Pacific really exciting.
So where do you think the key enablers are? Is it in the infrastructure, policy, or ecosystem design?
I think it's all of those things that you talked about. They are all important. But I would add another thing that's really important. I think when I look around the world, where you start to see rapid development and adoption of new payment technology or digitization, it is consumer experience.
So, like for example, given there are different countries with different regulatory frameworks in Asia Pacific, how do you feel in terms of whether they are progressing faster or slower than other regions, or maybe they're all equally moving at the same pace but have very, very different needs for their regions?
I have a slightly different view on this one. I think of regulation of any particular market, not relative to other regions or other markets, but relative to its own maturity, relative to its own innovation. Because this is the balance you need to strike. I think regulation needs to stay slightly behind innovation. If you're too much ahead, you kind of kill that animal spirit sometimes. So I think the balance of how you ensure regulation creates the level playing field, interoperability, right? Or the certainty of a business environment, that's really important. Or safety security, for example, for a payment method. That's what regulation has a role to play. But on the other hand, you want to make sure regulation doesn't stifle innovation. It still gives the room for creativity to happen.
So what is the one thing you know about Mastercard or your work in digital payments that very few people do? Of your regions of interest?
Well, in general, in Mastercard, I think one thing most people don't really understand is we don't issue cards. We don't extend credit. We do not charge interest, right? Mastercard is a network that creates it's really a switch. It can be a network of many wallets. It can be a network of other networks as well. So Mastercard is the network that stands in the middle that creates that interoperability and a universal acceptance for payment methods. And we are more a technology company, a data company, and a cybersecurity company. I think that's what, because we have the word card in our name, in our brand name, a lot of the times people automatically think of us as a credit card company, but we are not.
I dial back 10 years ago, I always think of Mastercard as a technology company. Because of all the things that you have to do, the payments, the infrastructure behind it, and even the security, the cybersecurity, doing fraud detection on it. So we're going to come to a more interesting topic.
Can I also maybe add one thing? And most people don't know. In fact, technology services increasingly contribute a much bigger percentage to our total revenue base. So our revenue contribution isn't just from payments, but also from services such as cybersecurity, data insights, consulting, loyalty. So those are the things that are increasingly important for our revenue base as well.
So I think we want to get into the most interesting topic, which is stablecoins. Now it's regulated in the US. Now it's bringing in them closer to what I call mainstream financial systems. What does this development mean, not just for the Asia-Pac region, but all the regions you covered from your vantage point at Mastercard?
Yeah, I actually feel in the first instance, stablecoins or crypto in general create more use cases for Mastercard. So think about today when we work with stablecoin or crypto exchanges like Coinbase, right? People need to use their cards to buy crypto, and largely as an asset, a speculative asset, investment asset. So we enable that. It's something we call on-ramp. But we also do a lot of off-ramp. So in Latin America, in countries where their domestic currency is a bit unstable, a little bit volatile, or they're actually currency exchanges, in those countries, people also would love to figure out a way to spend money directly from their crypto wallet. But merchants don't take crypto directly, or even stablecoin today. So Mastercard creates a bridge, a vehicle. A Mastercard branded prepaid allows consumers to use the money in their crypto wallet or balance to pay for merchant spend directly. So that's another big use case. Now our network is going to support stablecoin settlement. So it's no different than adding another currency. So our network can be settled in US dollars, euro, Japanese yen.
And USDC.
Well, tomorrow we're going to add USDC, Terra. Those stablecoins will become a settlement vehicle as well. I do feel stablecoins, if you ask me, overall hold a lot of potential, especially in B2B payments, wholesale settlement. But there's still a lot of work to do to really unlock the potential. Now, in P2M retail spend, is that going to be a significant solution for a need that is unmet? I have some question marks about this, right? Because if you look at a country like Singapore, retail payments is already highly digitized. And so you ought to ask the question, what is the problem it is solving? But I do see use cases for crypto.
I mean, in countries like, say, Pakistan, Turkey, they use it as inflation hedges, basically.
That's right.
But I think the general question now is, how are policymakers and institutions in Asia-Pac or even other regions reacting, and how is Mastercard now positioning towards this shift to stablecoins?
I think the reaction from regulators and governments are also a mixed bag, right? If you look at the European Union, they're definitely not going to try to encourage stablecoins or crypto per se. They're going to develop their own digital euro, so central bank digital currency. In Asia, we have countries who take the same stance as well. I also feel Singapore has come out long time ago to say, in retail payment, I don't know if the digital currency solves anything, but maybe in wholesale settlement, in cross-border remittances, for example. So it's all different. I think there are many different attitudes, but I think there's one thing that's really important. In the end, if this is about money, consumer needs to feel assured that this money is going to be good, and it's going to be secure, and it's going to be accepted, right? And that, I think, that role has to be played by government's oversight.
Actually, it's a bit ironic thinking in the euro situation where the largest stablecoin is Tether, which is actually, in some ways, you can interpret it as a euro money market fund in a different way. But I'm quite curious because I think maybe also to make sure we've been talking stablecoins, we're talking about collaterally backed stablecoins. That means it's a one-to-one packed, collaterally packed to the dollar itself. Do you see now stablecoins and digital wallets as potential solutions, or do they work best alongside, say, traditional banking rails? I think Mastercard has been doing quite a lot of work on enabling these solutions at scale, also while also maintaining trust and security. Because I remember, like in 3 years back, when I'm an angel investor in crypto companies, I remember the ease of firing 10,000 USD across the internet, and sometimes I ask myself, did the money actually transfer? Because then I realize, oh yeah, now I understand why Mastercard exists.
Yeah.
Because I need to know whether it lands at the other side.
Yeah, well, you hit on a very important point. Well, first, let me answer your question. I think my answer is yes. So maybe 2-3 weeks ago, a diehard crypto activist who's like a 21-year-old showed me how he lives his life in the blockchain world.
Yes.
DeFi world.
Yes.
Decentralized finance. Yeah. And it's quite fascinating. Now, but if I look at the use case in that DeFi world today with crypto, with stablecoins, it's still mostly investment. It's about taking the real world money and investing in crypto, right?
And off-ramp is very difficult.
Yeah, and it's very difficult. And there's a little bit lending, hedging, or some derivative as well. Collateral, using crypto as a collateral to cash out into real world money. So it's more investment activities. I think it's still a long way to actual payments. Yeah, that is where I feel. If you ask me, is the future going to be DeFi only versus today's world? Like there are two universes, today's universe and the DeFi universe. I think the probability of both universes coexist is much higher than the entire world being replaced by the DeFi universe.
Yes, I agree with you 100% on that, because I can't foresee a world where everybody goes decentralized finance.
That's right.
And I think there's still a certain respect or even adherence to the fact that there is trust and there's security. Things like banks, things like Mastercard, and the payment networks. Whoever it is, there's still some trust within the institution.
Well, you got it. So, and I think that's why I feel like the two universes will probably live alongside each other, and you're still going to need some bridge between the two. And I think I also want to add to your comment about this trust. Maybe one thing people ought to ask me about Mastercard is when I explain the Mastercard business model to them, I often say payments isn't just about moving money from A to B. Oftentimes the secret sauce of the Mastercard business model is we address issues when things go wrong. Like when money doesn't go from A to B, what happens? Right? Or A said I sent the money, but B said I never got it. Or B said I gave the goods and services to A, but A never paid me. We have a whole set of franchise rules that talks about how do you resolve disputes. If there is there's fraud, who bears the liability, right? How does chargeback actually work? That is actually the real essence of our business model.
And that's interesting, because now you're also seeing the cryptocurrencies are trying to reinvent those rules that you have already built within your ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's as if they have to rebuild it from scratch, which the institution trust question comes back to the point, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thinking forward, right? Do you see major cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even Solana now, or many others to play a major role alongside with the stablecoins? I think we should look at them as blockchain solutions rather than the token itself. What would be your mental models in now looking at these cryptocurrencies as part of the new financial rails?
Yeah.
Where Mastercard will live side by side with.
I always want to assume something, and even if I'm wrong, I'm okay. Something will happen, but if it doesn't happen, then at least I assumed it's going to happen, so I'm prepared for it. So I want to assume that stable coins will become a currency. Yeah. Whether this is more for B2B or P2M or remittances, we shall see. I think I have views on which use cases are more suited for stable coins. I do feel cross-border or wholesale settlement.
That's right.
That's where you have a stronger use case. I don't think Bitcoin is a viable currency, because for one thing, to be currency, you have to be stable. I mean, who's gonna pay for something today when the value is 10, tomorrow the value could be...
commodity like gold, for example.
It's an investment vehicle in my mind. Yeah, you can think about this as digital gold, commodity. I will use it for investment. Will I use it for payment? In some rare occasions, yes. It's just like in time of war, people use gold to buy things when money is not available. But in normal times, I think it doesn't fit my definition of a currency. That is, the other type of crypto. So stable coins, probably yes, less so on the other crypto. And your question is
about mental models. How are you going to think of them as part of the financial rails?
Yeah. So the way I think about this is we can embrace stablecoins as a settlement currency to bring them onto our rail. I also believe there will be interoperability that's needed. I just explained to you this whole on-ramp, off-ramp, right? Off-ramp is a great way of saying we can be the bridge between the DeFi world and the real world, especially physical merchants, right?
Right.
There will still be many physical merchants. They don't live in the DeFi world.
Yeah, they want something that just automatically converts whatever comes from crypto into the real
That's
world.
right. And I think that's where we can play a huge role. So at the end of the day, if I would cite, I were to cite a mentor of mine who said, you need to be at the table. Because if you're not at the table, you're going to be on the table.
Wow, this is the second time in the same day somebody tells me.
Someone told you this.
This, I say,
Must be the same mentor.
you must be on the table if you want to have a conversation.
It's very true. It's very true.
Yeah, I think from a financial inclusion standpoint, I think many emerging markets, I mean, you cover Africa, some parts of Asia Pacific is also emerging as well. They do face some challenges with access to banking infrastructure. Do you see stablecoins and digital wallets as a solution here, or maybe even in the longer term, it's still a complementary to the traditional rails?
I think it will be complementary. You're specifically talking about like financial inclusion.
Financial.
Yeah. Look, Bernard, I actually think that I have a very strong view about this. Financial inclusion isn't just about having access to a digital wallet. It's not just about having access to even a bank account.
That's right.
What is the real essence of financial inclusion? Oftentimes, it's about access to working capital, to loans, to lending, right?
Micro businesses require.
Yeah, if I'm a small business, just have a bank account with no money in it. That doesn't help me. So, but just say, because there's crypto, it doesn't automatically create financing. Yeah, I may have crypto as a capital, but the small business still doesn't have it. So ultimately, I think this is where the Mastercard network and data can come in, because we know so much about transactions and behaviors. We can help banks make much better underwriting decisions, right? Today, the reason SMEs oftentimes won't be able to get a lot of credit or
working
capital
loans.
Because banks don't know much about them. Their information is not transparent. They're not visible to the banks. And some players are trying to figure out ways to solve this. And a great example in Asia is Alibaba, right?
Yes.
Because it's got the commerce platform, I see your behavior, I see your transactions, now I can also think about giving you a loan. And that is where I think Mastercard can really collaborate with our financial institution partners and to say, you have your data, you have your scoring model, I have more data, I have another scoring model that can complement yours. So now together we can lend to more SMEs and therefore include them into the formal economy. That's my way of thinking about financial.
So if I were to read it correctly, and maybe just to clarify, is that what you're thinking is that the stablecoin infrastructure can allow these businesses to be more scalable, while having something that they can actually on-ramp or mainly off-ramp, so that they can have access to capital in order to grow their businesses. And there is a way from Mastercard to do that.
It's an enablement, but by itself, it doesn't create a capacity for lending. It
That's
doesn't,
right.
But yes, it can become an enablement.
I'm pretty curious now, since we are also in the age of agentic AI.
Yeah.
Can you share any interesting stories about how AI is now being used within Mastercard? I think more is always being used for fraud detection, to enhance consumer trust.
Absolutely. So fraud, cybersecurity is a big area, because I think it's going to be we have to stay 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of the fraudsters and the bad actors.
That's right.
So that's very important. But also it can be used for personalization. If you think about today, how people are merchant marketing to customers, it's usually one size fits all, right? Think about advertising. That's the greatest example of one size fits all. Everybody sees the same thing. I think in the AI world, merchants and our customers, banks, they all have a unique capability to really personalize or customize your interactions, their interactions with you and your interactions with them. For example, if you go into a restaurant, let's say a fast food restaurant, you see these days you're not served by humans anymore. You have screens.
Yes.
You go order. But if the merchant knows I'm a vegetarian, what's the point of showing me a meat burger?
Yes.
Right? So now you can actually customize the menu even on the screen to a customer. So I think AI holds tremendous promise in that field. And it's the same thing in our business as well. Not so much Mastercard directly. But for example, I have already heard a lot of our bank partners are saying they're using AI to do collections for credit card debt.
That's right.
And when that's enabled through a human being, the collections are much more effective. It's more it has a better human interface,
Yes.
and it creates much better results.
So there was I think was a AI being used as an avatar to collect debt in the Middle East markets. I think it's called Fatima. I think they won the EY award for innovation. And apparently Fatima does a better job than human collectors by 10%. And that's actually a lot of...
My belief is it's not just using avatar by itself. I do think you should use a human, but a human equipped with the AI tools that will make the conversation even more effective. That's my view.
We discussed earlier, now we are living in the world of AI agents, and we're going to have this situation where AI agents will be going into different commerce sites to make transactions on our behalf. How do you be able to think about resilient, trusted-based systems or the kind of agentic transactions? I've seen like a couple of deployments, but I think usually in order to get a kind of a trust at scale, the Mastercard kind of scale is not so simple.
Yeah, it's a great point. Today, the algorithm of our network says, if you detect this transaction is done not by a human being, by a bot, decline. Well, tomorrow, that algorithm isn't going to work anymore because agents will be making choices and also making payments. So still very early days for us. We're closely working with all the ecosystem players. We're basically the orchestrator, right? We're in the middle of the network.
That's right.
And we're working with all the ecosystem players to now set new rules and standards in terms of agent pay, in terms of what the data exchange should look like. How do we close the feedback loop? If there's a dispute, what does the chargeback look like? So there's a whole set of new rules and methods that we have to revisit and redesign. So that's very important. Cybersecurity continues to be important, and in the agent world,
it's even worse.
Yeah, it's going to be even more complicated. But there's some no regret moves we can make today that will serve today, but also will serve the agentic commerce world. That is things like tokenization.
Yes.
You don't ever want to have your real credentials just float out there. You want to have a token. Stronger authentication, like today it's passkey. Probably tomorrow there will be something else. But how we bind biometrics with a device to do a stronger authentication, that's going to be relevant for the agentic commerce world as well, right? Click to pay. One click, you consummate a transaction that's both safe and easy. That's another thing. So those are the things we continue to drive with our customers in the ecosystem because we feel those are no regret moves.
Yeah. So I totally agree. Like for example, I think people don't appreciate when you do a click to pay, there's actually multiple things are all happening in the background.
That's right.
That gives you the seamless payment experience, but yet there are a lot of things in the background like making sure all the checks is correct, the payment passes through, and it gets to the merchant, and all these things I think people don't appreciate the amount of work that's being done for payments.
That's right. So, there's a lot of work.
So what is the one question that you wish more people would ask you about Mastercard and everything in your region, but they don't?
Yeah. Well, I think maybe I have already said it. That is, the question is, do we issue cards? We're not a card company actually at all. That's not what we do. We're a technology company that process transactions and payments. And this actually speaks to the fact why we are such versatile and flexible network. We do what we do today, but as the world changes, we're able to adapt and embrace the future. This is about crypto you just talked about. Agentic commerce, we can embrace that as well, right? So there's the versatility of the Mastercard network is probably something that people don't appreciate. I will give you another great example, real-time payment. In South Africa, we launched our real-time payment network instance on soil in South Africa. So our network doesn't not only will not only support card payments, it actually supports real-time payments as well, right? And today that is realized in South Africa. Tomorrow it's going to be around the world. So the versatility of the network is probably one thing I would say.
So my traditional closing question, what does great look like for Mastercard across the EMEA region over the next few years in light of AI and digital currency developments?
We continue to be that trusted network that stands in the middle of all transactions. We continue to power economies and drive digital e-commerce. And our CEO actually said this, we want to be the operating system of commerce and the digital economy. I think that probably is a good way to summarize what success looks like.
Oh, that's a very good way to close. So, Ling Hai, many thanks for coming on the show. And I always have two very quick closing questions. The first one is, any recommendations you can share which have inspired your life recently?
Well, okay, so I read this book a while back, and I just read it again. A book called Thinking Fast and Slow by the late Daniel Kahneman.
Yes.
It's a great book. I mean, it has really, for me as a leader in the company, it's just really helpful to understand how the cognitive decisioning process works in different people's heads.
Yes, system 1 and 2 thinking.
Yeah, and what kind of biases we hold, right? It's a great way to understand behavior and thinking. So I highly recommend it. But also this man was brilliant.
Yeah.
It is a pity to lose such a brilliant person.
So how can my audience find you and follow Mastercard's developments?
I think probably my LinkedIn is the best platform.
Yeah, I'll link to you after this.
Yes, that sounds good. Also, Mastercard has our own websites. There's a lot of information about us, about me. But LinkedIn is probably the best place.
You can definitely find us everywhere from YouTube to Spotify and across LinkedIn as well. And of course, follow us across all social media platforms. Ling Hai, many thanks for coming on the show, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
No, thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.